I have a brief video for you today on having things to say in your writing. And this comes from a lot of the conversations that I had with students this semester about what they wanted to get out of the class. I had a lot of people talk about vocabulary, which I went over a little bit in the last video. A lot of people talk about how they're worried about repetition in their writing. And a lot of people also talked about having things to say, about how they start writing an essay and then they run out of things to say and they don't know how to fill space is what it comes down to. And honestly, the people who are worried about their repetition and worried about their vocabulary are often worried about this exact thing. They feel like they're repeating themselves because they have to say things again and again and again to try to fill space. They need to build their vocabulary because they need to repeat things again to fill space, and they don't want to sound like they're repeating things. So this video might help you overcome all of these issues in some way. So first, something that you're practicing in my course and something that you should apply to all of the things that you write in other courses is to find some way to be interested in your topic. Often this will require massaging the topic a little, maybe bending it to your will, maybe asking your instructor if you can write about something a little bit different or a little tangentially related in some way. But you can always, if you're interested in the course, even if you're not, try to find some way to write about what you are interested in. And then once you find something that you're interested in, be enthusiastic in your discussion. Let your reader in on why you care about this thing. And then remember that your audience, whoever you are writing to, and I know that often you're writing for an instructor, but you should always imagine an audience that is interested in your thoughts. First, your instructor is interested in your thoughts. That's why they're teaching the class. But second, your audience should always be someone who cares what you think. You are the expert for that situation. So what this solves in terms of repetition is that if you're interested in something, you are going to have a lot of different things to say about it. And that means that you aren't going to need to repeat yourself, except when you are explaining how one thing relates to the next thing. That's the only time you're going to need repetition at all. You're always going to have something new if you're interested. And this also solves the issue of needing fancy vocabulary words because you aren't going to be repeating yourself as much. Also, I would like to point out that if your instructors are reading your work, when I'm reading your work, if I see you say one thing and then say it again just using different words, I recognize what you're doing there. Your other instructors recognize what you're doing there. Your audience members are going to recognize what you're doing there. So there's not much use for that. Brief side note on vocabulary. The best way for you to build your vocabulary in your field, in whatever you want to write about, is to read things in that field. And when you do, you're going to see the people, the other authors, using words that maybe you don't know or maybe you haven't used in that way before. If you don't know them, look them up, figure out what they mean, look at how they're used in context. And eventually you are going to get comfortable using those words in the way that other authors use them. And once you're comfortable with them, they're going to sound natural in your speech and in your written work. So just read the kind of writing you want to do in the field that you want to be in, and your vocabulary will improve and you'll get better at using those words. All right, so if you want to always have things to say, make the topic fit your interests. You don't have to make your interests fit the topic if you can bend the topic to your will. Be enthusiastic in your writing. Help your reader see why this topic that interests you is interesting. And finally, remember that you are the expert. Your audience wants to know what you have to say.